Golly, that's good.
I cracked myself up. I still haven't found my first Blanton's.
That's different. I really like that. They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Pechods or Pechaw. This is not what I expected. It's Bourbcast night. Let's get her done. Today we are finally hitting this Penelope. This is a barrel strength Penelope. This is batch number 17. Could I have opened it ahead of time? Sure I could have. Would it have been different for me to do that? Sure it would have. We get it. It's all right. All right, so this is batch number 17. Tells you they've been doing the barrel strength for just a little while. Before I get into this, oh, I didn't bring a glass. Oh my goodness, I didn't bring a glass down. Uh-oh. All right, well, we'll have to do this the old-fashioned way in a rocks glass. I was going to bring a Glencairn, and funny thing, I put them all away yesterday. So I wasn't sure if I was going to be here tonight. There was a possibility that I was going to be asked to cover one of the events. There was an event, well, there's several events all week long. Freddie Johnson is coming up from Buffalo Trace to Ohio. OHLQ has him coming around. They're doing these barrel picks, or these raffles, right? So there's Eagle Rare, Double Rare, or something, the 17 year, and then there's a Weller that's like $7,500. The Eagle Rare is like, I don't know, $3,500 or $3,000 or something like that. It's like, okay, no. So I got talking to one of the people from OHLQ, and they were saying, yeah, why don't you come down? We'll make sure that you get to meet Freddie, and you get to be a part of this, and start filming around noon, and da-da-da-da-da, and they never got back with me again. I said, we need to do a plan. Let's do a plan, and they never got back, so here I am, which is great. This is great, but, because if I wouldn't have been here tonight to do it now, I don't know when I could have done this, because this week is nuts. So, anyway, we're here, and we didn't get to do the OHLQ special Freddie raffle. And there was another bottle too. It was like $1,000 bottle. I wasn't going to be able to get into any of that stuff. That's a mortgage payment, That $7,500. Shoot, that's a lot of mortgage payments. But anyhow, so I didn't do that. But what I did do last week, you know that last Monday I went down to Boone County, and we did that. We did a Bourbcast all about that last week, and then Thursday, I was invited to go down to High Bank Distillery in Columbus, and we've done Whiskey War. This is a fabulous pour. I love Whiskey War. And so I was invited to their open house, and they had a whole bunch of different ones that they were doing, and a brand new release they were doing out of a I think like a Spanish oak barrel. I can't remember what it's called, but it starts with an A, and I can't pronounce it anyhow. But I picked that one up, and I picked up they're double oaked, which is fantastic. If you happen to get to High Bank Distillery in Columbus, Ohio, the double oaked is fantastic. Really, actually, this is the double oaked, and it is really, really good. Really, really good. So, anyhow, all right. So let's get back to the Penelope. But first, before I do that, I want to share with you something that that has me perplexed. Come home, and I've talked about my daughter's boyfriend a couple different times. He's young. And the things that I know from my history and my pop culture are not the same. Hey, Chris, how you doing? Are not the same as what he knows from his history and his pop culture. So I come home tonight, and I'm wearing this t-shirt. Let's see if I can get it straight. The original download. Now, as you can tell, that is a cassette tape on the front of this. He looks at me and he says, So that thing on your shirt is because it's download, right? So computers, right? So he goes, is that a floppy disk? No. And I told him, I said, you're not allowed to come to my house and make me feel old, okay? There's just a few things you're not allowed to do, and that's one of them. All right. All right. I apologize for not having the Glencairn, but this will be all right. So this is Penelope Bourbon, batch 17. It's sourced from MGP. It's one of their partners. They source with MGP. They source with Bardstown, and they also source with Speyside Cooperage. That's the barrels. This is a 4-grain. It's aged 4 years. It's a blend of 3 bourbon mash bills comprised of 4 grains each. So a 4-year-old wheated bourbon, a 5-year-old rye bourbon, and a 5- and 6-year-old corn bourbon per company. The mash bill total is 74% corn, 16% wheat, only 7% rye. That's a low rye, and 3% malted barley. It sits 4 to 6 years old. This one is a 4-year, evidently. The char is number 4 on the staves and number 2 on the heads. Each batch is blended from 3 bourbon mash bills aged in new American oak barrels and completely uncut and non-chill filtered. Each barrel hand-selected and blended into a single batch. Now, about Penelope Bourbon. If you don't know anything about Penelope Bourbon, I don't blame you. I didn't know anything about them either. You know, I know that it's sourced MGP, but I didn't know much else. Here's the story. Penelope Bourbon was crafted and created in the classic American tradition to celebrate an impending birth of a child. Now, you're looking at this and going, what kind of a story is that? Well, if you follow any of the social media on bourbon stuff, you'll know that there's a lot of people who chase dump dates, particularly for Blantons, that coincide with a special event, an anniversary or the birth of a child. So for them to start a company based on the birth of their child is not that far out of the realm of possibility. 2018, Mike Palladini and his wife Carrie found out they were expecting a baby girl. They named her Penelope. I know a friend that's got a dog named Penelope, and I call her Penelope, just to bug my friend because it's funny. But I won't do that with this because this young bubba girl, who's now 4, 5, 6 years old, is Penelope. To commemorate the occasion, Mike quickly realized he wanted to create a spirit that embodied the daily joy of celebrating life's pleasures, big and small. He teamed up with a close childhood friend and neighbor, Danny Police, Polise, so it could be Police. They set out to discover and produce a straight bourbon whiskey everyone would appreciate and enjoy, and a company was born. And that is the story of Penelope. All right, that's what I got. So, all right, let's give this a try. And again, I apologize for the big glass. It's not going to be good for the nose, but we're going to do what we can because, I forgot to bring a glass down. I could have done it in a shot glass. I think that would have been even worse. Because I can stick my nose down in this glass just fine. I'd be all right. And that was actually kind of nice. Now, this is 116 proof. And as I shove my schnoz down in that glass, and trust me, I know it can get down in that glass pretty far. Shut up. I'm not getting any of those alcohol notes. That strong alcohol, astringent type of. I'm not getting that, which is good. I'm getting some oak, which is nice. Again, this is not a good glass to taste or sniff out of, but we're going to do what we can do. Nice cinnamons on the nose. I'm catching maybe a salted caramel. It's got a nice nose. Little more earthy. Doesn't have the sweetness. I'm not catching any fruit off of it. Maybe honeycomb and not honey. Little on the earthy side. I think it's probably the oak that's lending to that, but we'll see. I have never had a Penelope product before, so this is all new for me. So we'll find out what it's going to be like. And this is barrel strength. We're jumping in with both feet. All right. Here we go. It does not drink like 116 proof, first of all. The bloom is very, very slow to grow. It does grow, and it is nice, but it's slow to grow. The mouthfeel is slightly thin. I mean, very, very slightly. So if you had a benchmark in your mind about what you would want a bourbon to feel like in your mouth, and this is unfiltered, by the way, so I would have expected this to be a little more buttery, and it isn't. It's got a little bit of a thin side to it, but it's not thin, right? It's just thin-ish compared to other pours that I would consider much more complex. For a 4-year, I guess I'm not surprised, but for unfiltered, I am surprised. I would have expected this to be, again, a little bit more buttery, a little more viscosity to it than it has. When we add water to it, I assume that's going to change greatly, but we'll find out. All right. So for 116 proof, this does not drink like 116 proof. I'm going to say it'll drink more like 105. Really kind of surprised that it didn't give me more of a kick than it did. I mean, the 125, you're talking only 9 points more, and it beat the snot out of me when we were doing the benchmark full proof. That beat me up. That was hot. This is not. This is not. And by the way, the Whiskey War series that we had at High Bank Distillery, it's the same way. Now, maybe I'm just getting really, really used to these high-proof pours, but they presented themselves as delicious and full-bodied and not so hot. I mean, not so hot as far as proof goes. As far as flavor goes, yeah, burning hot. Very, very good stuff. All right, let's go back to it. The legs on it, the finish, again, goes back to that nose. It's got that oak, maybe some dates. Again, a little bit more of an earthy side of things. There's not a sweetness to it. I'm not even getting a length of licorice or anything like that to it. The long finish has the oak and maybe dates. Yeah, now I need to get back to it. The cinnamons and the caramel are really nice. Really nice on the palate. On the palate itself, it's got great flavor. The oak is present. There's a slight sweetness to it. It reminds me just a little bit of maybe it's salted caramel I talked about. Maybe just a little bit of toffee, but it's really in the back. You got to find it. You got to look for it. Again, it's still an earthier pour. Your oak, your honeycomb, there is a very slight sweetness right in the center of my tongue. And at first I'm thinking brown sugar, but that sounds too sweet. That's why I'm thinking toffee maybe. It's got this toffee side to it. It's really, it presents itself better on the palate than it does in the finish. The finish, it gets very earthy. Slowly, it's got a decently long finish. But on the palate itself, that's where the most flavor exists to me. Let's go back to it again. Caught a really nice orange note. Really nice citrus note on the palate. That was pleasant. That was and it's holding on for a minute too, which is really nice. Maybe it just needed to get some air or something like that, but that citrus note was very pleasant. I really enjoyed finding that. That changed the whole perspective of this pour for me. Again, now it's starting to ebb. Now we're having that finish begin, and it's going from that caramel, slight sweetness with the citrus back into the earthiness and that honeycomb and that oak. So yeah, I mean, it's tough to nail down what part of the mash bill I'm grabbing a hold of, because there are three different completely 3 completely different mash bills in it that make up the overall mash bill. And what's in it is different ages, and I mean, it's very, very tough to pick out what it is when you have such an amalgam. Such a mixture of flavors and where it all comes from. I will tell you, I'm not a big fan of this level of mixing and moving things around. I get what they're trying to do, but I like it to be, I like it to be a little more simple than that. So that way I can kind of say, okay, I'm catching some rye here, I'm catching some of this, I'm catching some of that. And going back to the mash bill, a blend of 3 bourbon mash bills comprised of 4 grains. 4-year-old wheated bourbon, so wheat will be the primary grain, other than corn. It has to be at least 51% corn to call it bourbon. Secondary grain would be wheat in that, and that's a 4-year-old. Then the 5-year-old rye. So rye, as I've come to find out, matures a lot faster in the cask than corn does. So a 5-year-old rye, even though it's only, if you look at it, 7% rye, it's a low rye, but that's a lot of aging for that rye. And that may be where I'm getting some of those earthier style notes, is from that aged rye. And then 5 and 6-year-old corn bourbon, which, that's where you're going to get some of your oak. That's where some of the sweetness is going to come out. That light, what they call light whiskey, corn whiskey. All right. Hey, Bill's watching. Hey, Bill. How are you, sir? We're just about to get into water here. You know what? Let's go ahead and do water. I don't want to pour a bunch of this. I got stuff to do. It's just that kind of week. It's a busy week. In case he's got stuff to do. So we're going to do it. All right. So far, what I got out of the Penelope is it's on the earthy side of things. The finish has got oak and it's got maybe some dates. On the palate, we did find some nice citrus, some salted caramel, some cinnamon for sure. Not catching any of those sweeter notes that I had hoped to find, but the citrus was a nice find. I did enjoy that when I found that. All right, so now we're going to put some water on it. Also, the mouthfeel. For an unfiltered bourbon, I would have expected it to be a little bit more buttery, and it isn't. So we're going to find out if we can find that butter. I almost dumped it in there, didn't I? I almost did. I didn't, though. I didn't. It might have dumped in there and fallen out, so I'll probably have to replace this water now. Doggone it. Oh, well. I need to just be a little less careless. That's what it is. I could just hear my father going... So another big win while we're mellowing this out. So a friend of mine, met him a few years ago. He's been kind of through the ringer. And he's had not the best of situations in life. Drug addict. And he was off drugs for a little while, and he got a job, and he had a place to live. And then he came back. And he ended up in rehab for a little over a year and a half, almost. And came back. He's been clean now for 2 years. And he told me that he had a driver's test today. And he told me this last week sometime. And I said, well, are you going to get a chance to practice? He says he didn't know. So we went out 2 days ago. And we practiced. And now I drive a great big Chevy Tahoe. So it's not exactly fair for somebody who's just taking the driving test to drive a Chevy Tahoe to practice. But I figure if you can do this in a Tahoe, you can do this in a smaller vehicle, which is what he was going to test with. I think a Toyota Corolla or something like that. So we went out and we did the maneuverability, and we went on the road, and he had to learn to not cut the corners, left or right. If he's turning right and he cuts the corner, he runs the curb, right? If he's turning left and he cuts the corner, he's going to clip a car. So he's got to do those right angles, and we taught him that, and just kind of refreshed him on a few things. You got to make sure you watch the signs, son. Watch the signs. Know what your speed limit is. All those types of things. Well, I found out today that he passed his driver's test. It's the first time he's had a driver's license in 18 years. And I am just absolutely so proud of him. for doing so well. He's a nice guy, and he really wants to turn his life around. He's got a good job, and he's got his own place, and now he's passed his test. He's going to get his driver's license back. I couldn't be more overjoyed for the guy. I really couldn't. I'm so proud of him, and he's come a long way in a short amount of time. And the agencies that are helping him are just a blessing, So I just wanted to throw that out there because there are some people in this life who, no matter what they do deserve extra chances, a second chance, and a third chance, and a fourth chance, and a fifth chance, and this is one of them. You don't always have to go, well, he made his own bed, he can lie in it. Well, yeah, he can, but he can also, get up, remake his bed and try over again. And I couldn't be more proud. And I can be tough. I can be tough on people, right? I can be tough on them. But in this case, he's shown me that you don't have to be tough with everybody. You can have grace. And with him, it's a great story. He's a nice guy. His parents died when he was young. I think his one parent died when he was like single digits, and the second parent died when he was a teenager, and he's in his 40s now, and he's had to do life on his own, really, and he misses his parents greatly, which you can understand. So, all right, this is with a little bit of water, and yeah, I'll redo the water. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't add a lot of water, maybe a half a milliliter, because we found out last week at Boone County that a mere drop or two is really all you need to open something up. So I only added a little bit of water. I didn't go crazy this time, about a half a milliliter, which is maybe, 4 or 5 drops. The viscosity that I wanted when it was neat is there now. I'm getting a really nice buttery mouthfeel. This is actually just what I wanted. This is what I wanted, neat. It did proof it down. I'm not getting near the heat on the tongue, although there wasn't a lot of heat to begin with. I don't think I proofed it down a lot because I didn't add a lot to it, but it did have an effect on its sizzle. I keep throwing these new terms at us. Not fair. It's the bloom. But it did have an effect on the bloom. But it did also have an effect on the mouthfeel, and it did affect the flavor. Let's get into that now. Just a skosh. It didn't change it a lot as far as flavor goes, but I said before that I caught toffee because it's not sweet enough to be brown sugar. But with a little bit of water, those brown sugar notes come out just a little bit. I'm still getting the toffee. But the brown sugar notes just edge up the sweetness just a skosh. Just a little tiny itty bitty bit. Not a lot. And I'm not saying that I have like the most intense palate in the world, but you got to have a good palate to be able to know the difference between these things. And I did notice it, so somebody with a better palate than mine might notice it even more than I do. Jordan's watching. Hey, Jordan, how are things down under? No, he's not in Australia. He's in Florida. And you're coming back, right? You're coming back this week to the homestead, as I understand it. This weekend, we'll be shooting the R100. That's an archery tournament where over 2 days we shoot 100 targets. And I haven't shot the R100 now in a little while. It's been a while since I've shot it. Last time I shot it, I did very, very well. I got my R1000 pin, which means I scored over 1,000 points on those 100 targets, which means you have to score at least, the 10 points or more throughout. So I did well, but it's been a little while since I've shot the R100, and I'm looking forward to doing it again. So ahoy, that's right. Yeah, you're coming back. Good. I'm going to shoot it with you this year because last year I was exhausted and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't get it. I couldn't get up. I couldn't get out. I had to work on Saturday anyway. I just wasn't able to do it. So we'll add a little bit more of this. Put an ice sphere on it. What kind of ice sphere is it? Say it with me. Gorgeous ice sphere. So we've been out setting up the R100, I help them out because I love the club that we're working with, and I love the R100. If you're an archer, I mean, it is the penultimate opportunity to go out and shoot. You're going to shoot targets that you'll never see anywhere else. So if anybody is looking to find out what 3D archery is, I would ask you to go to a website called outdoorohio.com. We're back in 2014. I can't believe it's been 10 years ago. It's been 10 years, Jordan. I made a video called Inside 3D Archery. And it explains what 3D archery is. So you can find it on YouTube, Outdoor Ohio. Inside 3D Archery is the name of it. It shows you what it is and how we score it and all those things. It's a little bit like bowling as far as scoring goes. It's a little bit like golf as far as going from place to place to place. It's a unique sport. It's a lot of fun. And boy, we used to have a blast, man. We had sometimes 6, 7, 8 guys go out with us and gals, and we would shoot and just have a ball. And I will put the link in the description of the video later so you can just click on it and go and check out what I looked like 10 years ago, as well as what 3D archery is. But we'll be shooting giraffes and elephants and rhinoceroses and buffalo and a yeti and Bigfoot and just all sorts of really, really fun targets. A vampire bat and snakes and just it's so much fun. It's all foam, and when you go to check out the video, you'll see what it's all about. But spheres are elite. Haha, I feel so proper when I use them. I know, I almost feel like I have to put a pinky up. T-Rex. Yeah, T-Rex is going to be there. T-Rex is going to be there, and a Stegosaurus, and a whole bunch of different dinosaurs. It's going to be fun. The Stegosaurus, though, okay, it's not fair. The Stegosaurus is like this big. It's tiny. It's tiny. Last time I shot a Stegosaurus, though, I drilled it. I pin cushioned that sucker. So, all right. And that club's not around anymore. I must have humiliated them or something with my pinwheel. All right. So here we go. There's the sweet. That citrus came out really strong that time. It was one of the first things I noticed was the citrus. Yeah. Salted caramel still there. That sweetness is there. That brown sugar, a little bit of vanilla with a little bit of ice on it. This changed a lot on ice. Again, this is another one of those. I don't like putting ice on my bourbon. But on this one, the ice actually helped it some. I hate that. I don't want the ice to help it. I don't want it. But it does. It does. It helps it. It's muting, I think, the rye side of things a little bit and bringing out some of that sweetness from the corn. I think it's muting some of that malted barley as well. But yeah, it's giving me that unfiltered mouthfeel. It's giving me that buttery mouthfeel that I really, really like. Yeah, I'm not going to complain. All right, so I am going to, though, tell you what's coming up next week on the beautiful Bourbon Bourbcast. I'm hoping we can go back to Wednesdays next week. I know that this entire week we're going to be, where are we at? I know this entire week, this entire month, we're going to be not on Thursdays because it's just not possible. This is the only week I think that we can't be on Wednesday. So next week we should be back on Wednesdays again. Looking at doing looks like the Chattanooga 111 proof. I've heard ups and downs about Chattanooga. People either love it or they don't. This gentleman I was talking to online, on YouTube as a matter of fact, which you can find us at Beautiful Bourbon on YouTube, he does not like the Chattanooga at all. I've never had anything that Chattanooga has put out. But that's what we're going to do next week is Chattanooga. So join us. Again, watch for the updates. I didn't expect that to do this on a Tuesday night. I thought I'd be here tomorrow, and then my week went crazy. So I'm hoping we can be here next Wednesday for the Bourbcast and do Chattanooga. I will keep you up to date. Keep watching our Facebook page at Beautiful Bourbon, facebook.com/Beautiful Bourbon, all one word. And then you can check us out on YouTube at the new handle thing, the @Beautiful Bourbon. We're on Instagram. I don't do that a lot anymore. It's boring. But that's at Beautiful Bourbon. And of course, we've got the website, which is just under attack. The amount of hackers trying to get into my website, I don't understand. I got a bunch of different websites, and this is the only one they're attacking. I think they're attacking it because they know that they can't get in. Now I say that, and then now they're going to get in, and they're going to put like nasty stuff on there or something. I don't know. I don't like it. But it's under attack. But that's it. That's at beautifulbourbon.com. It's also at thebourbcast.com, bourbcast.com. I got a bunch of URLs for it. It's like I actually expected the website to do something, and now I don't touch it. All right, gang. We will see you next week, next Wednesday, with the Chattanooga 111, the barrel strength Chattanooga whiskey. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing you, and I thank you so much for being here. We will see you next week.